Welcome to the deep dive. This time you've really given us some fascinating material to chew on. It's all centered around a pretty significant initiative, the PM Gati Shakti Master Plan.
Absolutely. And we've got quite a range of sources, haven't we?
Mhm.
Everything from, official government documents outlining the core vision
Right.
to some really insightful analyses on YouTube offering different takes on this, well, massive undertaking.
Massive is right. We're talking, what, 100 lakh crore project? That's huge.
It is launched back in October 2021. And the ambition, as some sources frame it, is really quite something, positioning India as a major global manufacturing hub, maybe even, rivaling China eventually.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge ambition indeed. So I guess our mission here in this deep dive is to really get under the skin of this Gati Shakti plan. We
Exactly.
want to understand what it actually involves, what kind of impact it's supposed to have, and maybe crucially, the practical side. How do you make something this big actually work?
Definitely need to go beyond the headlines on this one.
For sure. And we know you're keen on getting a thorough understanding quickly, so we'll pull out the most important nuggets from all these sources, give you a really clear picture.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning then. What exactly is the PM Gati Shakti Master Plan? What's the core vision, the scope?
Right. Well, at its heart, it's a national master plan for multimodal connectivity. That's the official term.
Multimodal connectivity, okay.
Yeah, and the fundamental idea, the shift, is moving away from planning infrastructure projects in sort of isolation.
Ah, the old silo problem.
Precisely. Instead, Gati Shakti aims for a much more, let's say, integrated, holistic approach. It does this by bringing together 16 different ministries.
16.
16, yeah. We're talking key players like roads and highways, railways, shipping, ports, even telecom. The idea is to get them all working from a common vision.
So getting everyone on the same page for infrastructure planning and execution.
That's the goal. And it's not necessarily about starting everything from scratch. The plan is quite strategic in integrating existing major initiatives.
Like what?
Well, things like Sagarmala, the port development program, and Pratmala for highways, UDAN for regional airports. It basically creates one big framework to pull them all together.
That makes a lot of sense. Building on existing momentum rather than reinventing the wheel.
Exactly.
And it's not just about the big transport arteries, is it? I remember seeing something about focusing on specific economic zones, too.
Oh, yeah, that's a really critical part of it. Gati Shakti specifically covers various economic zones across the country.
Like,
Things like pharmaceutical clusters, textile hubs, defense corridors, electronics parks, fishing zones, agricultural zones, you name it. The underlying idea is to provide really seamless, efficient connectivity to these key economic engines.
so if you've got a factory in one of these hubs, the plan is for it to have much better access to roads, rail, ports, the works.
That's the central aim, yes. And to make this happen, there's a big reliance on technology, advanced tech.
Okay, how so?
The plan uses satellite imagery from ISRO, our space agency, and also sophisticated spatial planning tools. These were developed by BISAGEN, that's the Bhaskacharya National Institute for Space Applications, and Geoinformatics.
So like a high-tech digital map.
You could think of it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
A very detailed digital map using space tech. It allows for incredibly precise mapping and hopefully much more informed decisions when planning infrastructure.
That sounds incredibly complex, but potentially very powerful, almost like a digital blueprint for the nation's infrastructure.
That's a pretty good analogy. And this digital platform, it also serves another purpose, providing information
To who?
to the public and, importantly, to the business community. Information about upcoming projects, existing hubs, industrial areas. The goal is more transparency, helping everyone plan better.
Okay, and just to grasp the sheer scale again, where does Gati Shakti fit in the bigger picture of national infrastructure spending?
Right. It basically acts as the main coordinating umbrella for a huge portfolio of projects. We're talking around 111 lakh crore worth.
Wow, 111 lakh crore.
Yeah, these are projects under the National Infrastructure Pipeline, the NIP, for the period 2020 to 2025. So it's not just new projects, but coordinating and streamlining a vast range of existing and planned developments.
Okay, I think we've got a good handle on the what. Now let's shift to the why. What specific problems was this PM Gati Shakti plan designed to fix?
The sources are pretty clear on this. Historically, a major challenge was a lack of coordination between different government departments.
Silos again.
Exactly. Which unfortunately led to situations that, well, seem almost comical, but were incredibly wasteful.
You mean like the classic example, a new road is paved, and then a week later another agency digs it up for pipes or cables?
That's precisely it. The YouTube analyses really highlighted this roads getting dug up over and over again by different utilities, lack of synchronized planning,
It causes chaos, damages the road.
and it's a massive waste of taxpayer money. Costs could multiply compared to doing it in a coordinated way from the start.
It's kind of baffling that was so common. And I imagine that lack of coordination must have led to huge delays, too.
Absolutely. The sources consistently mention time-consuming approval processes, needing clearances from loads of different bodies, persistent problems with land acquisition, getting environmental clearances, all major roadblocks in the past.
So Gati Shakti is fundamentally trying to break down these silos, move away from that fragmented approach.
That's the core objective. To foster a shared vision, ensure everyone knows what everyone else is planning right from the start, and get them working together effectively.
Okay, so if the plan works, if it achieves these objectives, what are the big benefits we're supposed to see? What's the ultimate, what's in it for India?
Well, the potential benefits are really extensive. First off, it's expected to improve things tangibly for people, better ease of living for citizens, and also ease of doing business for companies.
How so?
Just better connectivity, simplifying daily life, reducing logistical hassles for businesses.
That phrase last mile connectivity kept popping up in the sources. Why is that so critical?
It's absolutely fundamental. It means ensuring the benefits reach everywhere, every corner, getting goods to remote areas, connecting people to services.
Right.
And this improved connectivity, in turn, should lead to significantly shorter travel times. Plus, the plan aims to help investors by giving them the info they need to strategically pick the best locations for their businesses.
Which should, hopefully, spur more investment and create jobs.
Exactly. Big expectations there, generating substantial employment, giving a real push to overall economic growth. It's also meant to boost port efficiency, faster turnaround times for ships, handling more cargo.
Any specific targets there?
Yeah, big one for railways.
Yeah.
Increase cargo handling capacity to 1,600 million tons by 2024-25. That's up significantly from about 1,210 million tons in 2020-21.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah.
And how does this affect India's position globally?
Well, by cutting logistics costs, currently they're quite high in India, maybe 13–14% of GDP. Compare that to 7–8% in developed economies.
Big difference.
Huge. So if Gati Shakti can bring those costs down, it makes Indian goods and supply chains much more competitive on the world stage. Could be a real game changer.
One source even compared its potential impact to the Jam Trinity, Yantan, Aadhaar, Mobile.
That's an interesting comparison. The idea is, just like JAM transformed access to services and finance,
Right.
Gati Shakti could potentially revolutionize infrastructure development, make it more accessible, efficient, integrated.
And it's not just domestic, right? There are mentions of regional benefits, too.
Yes, definitely. It could really strengthen economic ties with neighbors Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, even Southeast Asia. Better cross-border connectivity, lower logistics costs, benefit everyone.
Makes sense. Like the Nepal example, a huge chunk of their trade goes through India, so better Indian infra helps them directly.
Precisely.
Okay, so it has regional implications, too. Let's get into the how now. What are the sort of fundamental principles, the pillars, holding this massive plan up?
The sources lay out 6 key pillars. First is comprehensiveness, basically integrating all those existing and planned initiatives we talked about.
Yep.
Second, analytical, using that huge data set, over 200 layers of geospatial data for smarter data-driven planning.
Right, the tech aspect.
Third, synchronization, that crucial coordination piece between all the ministries and agencies.
The core problem solver.
Then fourth, prioritization, helping departments figure out which projects matter most based on cross-sector needs. Fifth is dynamic, meaning it allows for real-time tracking of how projects are progressing.
So you can see what's happening, adjust if needed.
Exactly. And finally, number 6 is optimization, helping find the absolute best routes for moving goods best in terms of time and cost.
Comprehensiveness, analytical, synchronization, prioritization, dynamic, optimization. Got it, a multi-pronged approach. Now let's get more specific. What are some of the actual proposals, the targets outlined under Gati Shakti? What concrete actions are being taken?
Right. The budget documents gave some specifics. For instance, there is a plan to formulate a dedicated Gati Shakti master plan just for expressways back in 2022-23.
Right.
And a really ambitious target: expand the national highway network by 25,000 kilometers. In that same year, 2022-23. Big chunk of money allocated for that.
25,000 kilometers in 1 year. That's massive road building.
Yeah.
What about other transport modes?
Yeah, definitely not just roads. To connect everything seamlessly, they're developing something called the Unified Logistics Interface Platform, or EULA.
ULIP. Yeah.
It's designed for data exchange between all transport operators, rail, road, water, air, real-time info for everyone, boosting efficiency.
Sounds useful. Anything specific for railways besides just capacity?
Oh, yes. A focus on developing new logistic services, specifically for small farmers and SMEs, making it easier for them to use real freight. And there's that interesting one station, one product idea.
Ah, yes. Tell me more about that. How does one station, one product work?
Well, it's basically about promoting unique local products right there at railway stations, giving local artisans, farmers, craftspeople a platform to sell their goods directly to travelers.
So using the railway network to boost local economies and showcase regional stuff.
Pretty much. It connects the railways directly into local supply chains. A smart way to support local business.
It does sound clever.
Yeah.
What about safety and just modernizing the trains themselves?
Big focus there, too. The plan included bringing about 2,000 kilometers of track under Kavach.
Kavach.
That's the indigenously developed train collision avoidance system, state-of-the-art safety tech. That was targeted for 2022-23.
Good to hear.
Plus, a major push to manufacture 400 new generation Vande Bharat trains, the semi-high-speed ones, over the next 3 years. And alongside that, developing 100 p.m. Gati Shakti cargo terminals to really boost multimodal logistics facilities.
So it really is interconnected across different sectors. What about cities, urban transport, and those harder to reach areas?
Right. For cities, the focus is on innovative financing for metro rail systems, and crucially, making sure those metros connect seamlessly with other transport modes, especially railway stations, smooth transfers.
Makes sense.
And for hilly, remote areas, there's the Parvatmala National Ropeways Development Program, using public-private partnerships, PPP mode, to build ropeways.
Ropeways as an alternative to roads.
Exactly, an ecologically sustainable, efficient alternative in difficult terrain. And underpinning all of this, a big emphasis on upskilling, training the people involved in planning and implementing these projects across government, building capacity.
Sounds like a necessary piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Are there other specific numbers, targets mentioned beyond what we've covered across different sectors?
Oh, yes, quite a few ambitious ones beyond rail and roads. Things like developing 11 industrial corridors, 2 new defense corridors, getting 4G mobile connectivity into all villages, a massive push in renewable energy aiming for 225 gigawatts of capacity, expanding the national highway network overall to 2 lakh kilometers, increasing the power transmission network length, creating 220 new airports, heliports, water aerodromes.
220 new air facilities.
That's the target. Plus adding 17,000 kilometers to the gas pipeline network and developing 202 fishing clusters, harbors, and landing centers.
It really touches almost every aspect of infrastructure, doesn't it? Truly ambitious targets. But, plans and targets are one thing. What about actual progress? Are we seeing this Gati Shakti plan making a difference on the ground yet?
That's the key question, isn't it? And yes, the sources do give several concrete examples of progress. A fundamental piece has been that dynamic map developed by Baizajan we talked about.
The digital platform.
Exactly. That's now being actively used. Central ministries, state governments, even district administrations are using it for mapping, planning new projects, using the data for better implementation.
So the digital foundation is being used. What about tangible impacts? Specific projects or sectors?
Well, the Kisan Rail initiative is often cited, using the railway network to get farmers' produce to distant markets quickly. That aligns perfectly with the Gati Shakti vision for agricultural logistics.
Right, improving supply chains.
There's also an example from Maharashtra, better coordination for connectivity between the Shendra and Bidkin industrial areas, getting NHAI and the state's MIDC working together more efficiently to connect those hubs.
Okay, so improved interagency work. What about those notorious long-delayed projects? Any sign of Gati Shakti helping there?
Well, the Kochi-Katanad-Bengaluru-Mangaluru gas pipeline project is often mentioned. It faced huge delays for years.
I remember hearing about that one.
Right. The idea is that the Gati Shakti portal and this renewed focus on coordination are meant to help resolve exactly those kinds of long-standing logjams, get critical projects finished faster. Plus, there's that focus on mapping all the industrial zones, providing that crucial data for future connectivity planning.
It's encouraging if the digital tools and coordination focus can actually start tackling those stubborn problems. Any international recognition or support?
Yes, the World Bank putting up a $250 million loan specifically to support industrial corridor development in India. That suggests some international confidence in the approach.
That's significant.
And the prioritization aspect seems to be helping industries. There was an example mentioned about transporting coal from Jabalpur to Mundra Port, how the platform helps identify the most efficient routes, saving time and money.
And that coordination we keep mentioning, is it really happening on the ground between different construction agencies? Like NHAI, state PWDs, BRO.
Reports do suggest improvement there. Better synchronization of activities, leading to more streamlined work, fewer overlaps. The progress in the Northeast region is highlighted quite a bit.
Oh, how so?
Projects there are now under the Gati Shakti framework. For example, the Kowai Telimura Harina Roadways project in Tripura. That specific project has apparently shown real benefits already. Reduced road length needed, saved travel time, better multimodal and regional links, and a boost to local industry and exports.
That's a really concrete example of impact. What about the overall pace of development? Is stuff getting built faster?
The data suggests yes in several key areas. Railway line laying, for instance. The rate reportedly jumped significantly from about 4 kilometers a day between 2009-14 to maybe 14 kilometers a day more recently.
That's a big increase.
Yeah. Also seeing more railway yard remodeling, automatic signaling, electrification, and generally the numbers for project sanctioning and commissioning in railways show a definite upward trend.
And you mentioned the highway network growth earlier, that visual data showed steady expansion.
Exactly. From around 91,000 kilometers in 2013-14 to nearly 1,045,000 kilometers in 2022-23. Consistent growth. And this momentum, or at least the targets, extend to other sectors too for 2024-25.
Remind me of those again.
Sure. Reaching 220 airports, heliports, water aerodromes, 34,500 kilometers of gas pipelines, over 454,000 circuit kilometers for the power transmission network, 225 GW of renewable energy capacity, handling almost 1760 mmTPA of cargo at ports, and connecting 260,000 gram panchayats with optical fiber.
Hugh. Okay, so clearly a lot is happening, a lot of progress reported, very ambitious targets. But any project this huge, this complex, must face challenges, right? What are the big hurdles Gati Shakti needs to overcome?
Absolutely. The sources definitely point out several key challenges. One big one is investment from the states.
How so?
Well, securing enough consistent funding from state governments, especially since many face financial strains due to the pandemic's economic impact. The economic survey itself stressed the need for substantial annual capital spending from both center and states. That could be tough for some states with tight budgets.
That's a fair point. States have their own priorities. Any other potential roadblock?
Another issue flagged is low credit offtake. Banks might still be cautious about lending for big infrastructure projects, remembering past issues with NPA's non-performing assets.
Ah, so risk aversion from lenders?
Could be. And that could potentially limit the flow of private investment, which is seen as a really key part of making the whole plan work.
So even with projects lined up, getting the financing secured might be tricky. What about those really deep-rooted problems in Indian infrastructure? Does Gati Shakti fully address them?
Well, while it tackles coordination brilliantly, some analyses suggest it doesn't completely solve everything. Persistent challenges like land acquisition.
Always a big one.
Exactly. Historically a major cause of delays and cost increases. Plus, issues around litigation, maybe alienating local communities during development, and navigating complex environmental rules. These are still significant concerns that could slow things down.
Definitely familiar challenges.
Yeah.
So given these hurdles, what can be done? What are the suggested ways to improve implementation, mitigate these risks?
Several ideas come up. First, focusing on broader macroeconomic stability. That helps create a better climate for investment overall.
Makes sense.
Then, tackling land acquisition more strategically. Maybe using tech like GIS and remote sensing more effectively to find less problematic land, like degraded areas, rather than just the most direct route.
Using data to avoid conflicts.
Potentially.
Ah.
And to encourage private investment, maybe the government could offer specific incentives or guarantees to kind of de-risk lending for these projects, make banks more comfortable.
Okay. And we talked about the digital side, the portal. Can technology be pushed even further?
Absolutely. Huge potential there. Things like proactively laying optical fiber alongside new rail lines or pipelines, building digital infrastructure right in.
Kill two birds with one stone.
Sort of. Also, developing smarter digital tools for matching supply and demand within the Gati Shakti framework, and using tech like automatic traffic monitoring or even drones to improve road performance and maintenance.
And learning from past mistakes seems important too, like building things that couldn't be used properly.
Yes, exactly. The example of LNG terminals built without proper pipeline connections to actually use the gas, that highlights why the integrated planning Gati Shakti pushes for is so critical.
Right. Avoid stranded assets.
Precisely. Similarly, delays caused by non-standard designs, like for railway overbridges, ROBs, Gati Shakti aims to fix that by promoting standardization, streamlining approvals, like with that railroad crossing alignment drawing system.
So it sounds like a mix of better planning, smarter tech, addressing the money issues, and just learning from past slip-ups. That's the recipe for success.
That seems to be the consensus. If these challenges and they're multifaceted are tackled effectively and consistently, then yes, the PM Gati Shakti plan really does have the potential to be truly transformative for India.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. It's clear PM Gati Shakti is, well, massive, hugely ambitious, with the potential to really reshape India's infrastructure and economy.
Indeed. The goals are huge, aren't they? Boosting growth, attracting investment, making India more competitive globally, improving transport across the board, creating jobs, all aimed at, as some put it, making India a top global business destination.
But as we've really hammered home, actually realizing that potential hinges on tackling those challenges effectively. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
Couldn't agree more. Sustained effort, real collaboration between everyone involved, and just a constant focus on efficient, transparent execution. That's what will be absolutely crucial for Gati Shakti's long-term success.
So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with as they mull this over. Considering this sheer scale and ambition, what specific areas of infrastructure development under Gati Shakti do you personally think will have the most immediate, the most significant impact on India's journey towards becoming a developed nation? And maybe also what role can individual citizens, businesses play in supporting this huge national vision? Definitely something complex and fascinating to think about further. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.